This week we're going to be talking about films that could help inspire you a little bit, give you a bit of confidence as a filmmaker. Any films that are under $1 million to show that, you know, it takes a bit of creativity rather than money.
You can do it too. Let's go.
Let's go.
I love that.
The Wagyu Films Podcast provides advice for filmmakers, movie news, and updates on the team's latest projects. Subscribe now to not miss out on future episodes. Remember to give us a like.
Okay, then Dave, so where should we start?
Right, so let's start with welcome to the Wagyu Films Podcast, by the way. We should give us a subscribe and a like. We did say that if we eventually down the line get to 5,000 subs, we're going to put indie horror hit Older Gods on YouTube for free.
As seen on Amazon,
Apple
TV.
Right, so,
all the VOD places that we told you about last week, that's where we had ours. So
yeah, but basically, essentially, if you haven't seen us before, this podcast is pretty much giving as much filmmaking advice as we can, usually from our experience of releasing our debut film and moving into our next one called PATRIARCH. So, but with this one, we're going to do something a little bit different in terms of what films inspired us, because if you watched our last episode, we talked about there were years went by where we were just making commercials and we were very much like, we haven't got the right gear, we haven't got the right people, we haven't got enough money. And we kind of bought into the myth that, well, we can't make films then until we have all those things. So it's kind of having some examples today of films that we watched. And it might be more about the making of the film, really, rather than the films themselves. But at the end of the day, it's like the stories behind these films and the films themselves that made us go, oh, bloody hell, we could do that too. So so that's what we're going to go through. Does that sound all right? Everybody
Sounds good to me.
Good. So do we go?
I wish I had prepared.
Yeah. So if it one film that was, you'd say, Sean, should we say it kind of inspired you, thought maybe we can do it? What would you say?
The first one for me is Monsters.
Yeah,
Monsters.
Gareth
Monsters.
Edwards.
I watched Monsters cold. I think it was off your recommendation, passing DVDs around like we used to do back in the day. And before social media, that's how the word of mouth spread around, was just word of mouth. It was your mates watch something, and obviously you're quite prolific with what you had in terms of your DVD collection. And
it's all gone now. I had to sell it all. So by sell it all, it was like 2 pence per DVD. But
it's like, would you like to recycle this DVD?
Yeah.
But that I watched that cold, so I had no backstory, and I until I watched the behind the scenes where I saw how he did it, I just realized, wow, that's what you can do when you just commit to making a film.
Yeah. So this is Gareth Edwards, isn't it? The director. He's gone on to do
Star Wars.
He did Rogue One, wasn't it?
Yep.
He's just done the new Jurassic Park.
He has, hasn't he? Yeah.
So Monsters is clearly his thing, but his first one was like it's kind of there's not a massive amount of monsters in it, but there are some. But it's basically like in the aliens have landed. There's like a little quarantine zone going across Mexico, and somebody's trying to get through it to get to America. If that's kind of the story, like this man and a woman who kind of a love story road movie. But it was pretty much shot by just Gareth by himself. He also did the visual effects, didn't he? And
produced it. Yeah.
Produced it, but. What particularly about that? Can you remember any stories from it that actually?
So a lot of the things. One, from a gear perspective, he shot it on like prosumer HDV.
Yeah.
So at the time, that's what we were using, and that's what I was convincing myself. Oh, we can't make a feature film with just a HDV camera.
Yeah.
And he did.
He did, and he made it look beautiful.
He made it look beautiful.
Didn't he have some kind? He had a converter.
They had because he wanted to use proper lenses. They used a lens converter, so it's like a 35, like a Red Rock Micro or a Metabones type thing. So he's able to use decent lenses on a prosumer camera. That made a massive difference.
Yeah, and I think that proves that. I think we've said it before, which is kind of like it's not really the camera you use; it is the lens. Because like I know there's like 28 years later where people are banging on about. Lots of it filmed by iPhones, but have you seen the behind the scenes where it's connected to a rig which looks like it's about 10 grand because there's a really good lens on it and everything connected to this little. Yeah, so we made it with a camera that you could. I mean, it wasn't hundreds of pounds. It was like a few grand camera, but it wasn't a 50 grand camera and a 50 grand lens setup with a 50 grand lighting. I think it was just him walking around Mexico with, I think what did he have? He had a sound man.
Sound guy, and his editor travelled with him.
Yeah,
so every location they went to, he set up his Avid setup
in a hotel. He would go through the dailies and log them, and then maybe do some skeleton cuts. And sometimes Gareth would set up his system next door, connect up, and they would pass shots across, and he would visualize. He would do some compositing as the edit's going along. I mean, so he also did the visual effects. The visual effects of the film are amazing. It really are. That's what pushes apart from the fact that it's filmed beautifully, and it's actually, he does all the visual, like all, you know, when you hear that sometimes, he does all of it, but he did all of it from a little flat in London somewhere. So
I mean, I remember a talk with it, especially about the visual effects, him talking about something, and sometimes, like, when we think about visual effects, you expect things, you have this quest for perfection, don't you, Scott? But then he just said sometimes some of these shots are just on for 3 seconds. Some of these shots are on for 2 seconds. You can have little mistakes, and you will have those people that point those out. But on the majority, if you're on a TV program and you don't have the luxury of pause, TiVo, reply, rewind, and stuff like that, just get it.
If you get it in a film festival, nobody's pressing pause. Everybody needs to stop worrying about that bullshit. It's just, well, if somebody's like, who cares? If somebody pauses it, I've seen loads of films I love that I've got enjoyment out of pausing it and going, shit, Braveheart, there's a car in the background, but who gives a shit? Don't worry about that stuff.
That's it. That's one of the things I was was taught, was that when you're going to do like a review for a shot, play it once. Don't give them any kind of like back. Don't give me saying, oh, it's not halfway done yet, or there's bits and pieces. Don't say anything. Play the shot and see what they say. Because that's literally the audience is going to see it that one time.
That's
if you're lucky enough that they'll buy the DVD, then they might pick and choose. Who cares after that, right? Okay. But you play it through, and if no one finds out those little things that you notice that you're trying to spend hours trying to get rid of, no one sees it.
That's a very film student thing to do, is kind of self-sabotage your screening of stuff. So you kind of like, you might have noticed, or before you watch this, you might see that I'm going to change all that. It's probably a good point, if you're about to say that, it's not ready to show anybody.
Yeah, definitely.
Show it somebody when you think, it might not be perfect, but it's, I think we're kind of there. And then if nobody catches anything, it's like, do you need to spend another 2 days trying to fix that thing if nobody really noticed it? You know, especially but yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, just play it once.
And it also it's like, and on such a low budget, he added things that added production value, such as like, so he would film signs and then composite what he like biohazard symbols,
or
CGI. He would CGI outside of shops. He would add production value without upping budget. And obviously it was his own time and personal like time, but those little additionals of just filming signs or filming road signs or filming store signs and changing
murals as well. Do you know, like the Mexican style murals on the wall? But he had them. But no, I remember, I think I saw the commentary or something.
And VFX of stuff in the distance. Like there was a gorgeous shot where the couple are sat on like a Mayan pyramid and they're just looking off into the distance. And in the distance, there are some explosions. There are some monsters. There's something moving in the background. But just having that little element adds production value. And if you can add that into your film,
there's a good bit in there as well in the behind the scenes where, because of the budget restrictions, is it like he was getting on a bus and there was a guy who was working behind the bus depot, and he's
the boat guy. He was like the best actor in the world.
And he was amazing.
He was just a guy, and they made him improvise, which is, I think the scene was supposed to be, we need to get on this boat. And if we don't, they won't be able to get out of the country, and these monster aliens are on the way. And but I think they just said to this guy who just worked behind like where you buy a ticket, and just say, these guys are trying to bribe you, and you just say like it's not enough. And he's just sat there going, why should I? No, I'm not. No, more. It's like,
or more. You want to get there?
I think
then you pay.
I think he improvised something. I think he improvised something like that just pays for her. What about you? And it's like, it just proves that you don't know who you're going to meet, and sometimes I think it was the adding to that a bit. He just had some balls while doing it.
That's it.
Where he said apparently they used to go on. They wanted to show like destroyed buildings and stuff like that because these huge monsters are coming past. But he just said a good trick is just put a high vis yellow. What do they call them in America?
High vis works every time.
You know, like the yellow construction workers and all that wear. And just walk onto site, and nobody stopped them, so they would quickly get a couple of shots. I don't think they were getting it. They weren't in any danger or getting in anybody's way.
That's
so
a tip.
don't do that.
That's a good tip, though. Even if you're just doing stuff for yourself or anything, what we did and have done for years is, if permissions are questionable, put a high vis on or put a crew T-shirt on, and no one really asks any questions.
A lanyard's good as well.
Oh yeah.
So if you have a lanyard just with your name and just your production company or something like that, if you got, they won't be there long enough for the guy who's paid not much to protect this place. They're just like, oh, they're just filming, they must be from headquarters or something. Don't get in the way, watch yourself, health and safety and all that. But if you're wearing a high vis, you could probably walk into some places and get some footage. And then he would visual effects in like a dead tentacle over this like destroyed but not bombed out, what's the word, demolished building. So it's just by shooting it really lovely, even though it was on really cheap cameras, we had the sense to put a good lens on it.
All the software's like off the shelf software, none of it's ridiculously expensive as well. So you use the Adobe Creative Suite and everything, which is
After Effects,
Premiere and Photoshop and all that kind of stuff, and it's just stuff you can, now you pay a monthly kind of thing, but back then I think you had to pay for it. But still, that was relatively cheap in terms of Filmmaker
before Adobe sold us down the river.
And I think I saw a really good bit of the making of, which is I'm sure he was in his bath filming a toy plane sink.
Yeah, he was trying to get it to sink into the water.
So if you look in the film, there's a bit on a river, and I'm sure like a Monsters Technical like rises a plane that's crashed and pulls it back into the river. That's just filmed in his bath. So it's kind of like, and at the end of the day, it does. I think visual effects is one of those things where you can learn it really quick, but it takes a lifetime to be a master at it. But at the end of the day, you can get on a course and something like that, and do you know what I mean? Try and give it a whirl. Scott's our guy that we go. Scott will fix that. Scott will fix that.
I never really fix it.
Yeah, I keep going to go. I'll learn that course soon. Scott's a help, and then we just got. But Scott will sort that.
Another thing with Monsters that I liked is, and it's something that when you're dealing with lower budgets, is the actors. And what he set out to do is he found a couple. Because there was a romance,
a real life couple.
I don't remember if they were married or if they were engaged or something like that, but they had a relationship, and so
saves on hotel rooms
on screen. Yeah,
no, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. They can share a room without that lawsuit in the future.
Yeah. So they can share hotel rooms.
On screen chemistry was there because they had a relationship already, and obviously when you're dealing with lower end budgets, it's a magical find when you do find someone who's good in front of the camera and can deliver. But then when you're also dealing with things like, now you two have to look like you're falling in love, that becomes awkward for those that don't have the experience or haven't gone through the training.
And there is an element of, if you're an actress and you got a new job for this Monsters, even though he might be a really good director, but there is just two of them of a crew, and you're there with another guy, and you're going to be traveling around Mexico with it. A lot of actors might be uncomfortable not knowing those guys and knowing where they're going to go and things like that. So if you get a real life couple, they're going in there with confidence and knowing they'll be okay because they're with somebody. Or if they're even just a friend, you know what I mean? But it does save on budget. It would say travel and hotels, and I think a lot of problems solved. So there's no uncomfortable kissing scenes. There's no, if they're not getting up. If that couple falls out during filming, Jesus, you'd be much worse than you were. So there's pros and cons.
It's always good footage, though, isn't it?
Yeah, just roll it.
Keep rolling.
Another thing that stood out for me is like, because obviously when you're watching big budget movies, they've got big epic scores, but the subtle score within Monsters,
so gentle.
It's something that I can actually have on in my background and have it on loop. It's just a very soft synth or it's a very soft piano playing off, and it's something that you wouldn't really associate with sci-fi or like this kind of low budget movie. But I think the score in it adds to it, and I think he played a blinder with it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Monsters was going to be the one because I think we were talking before. I had Monsters as well as my choice.
Great minds, Dave.
This
Great minds.
But because it was the film that made me start writing a script, because it was it was just the film was amazing, and I think I didn't know that. I think I just watched the film before the making of.
It's one of those, back then. It was before social media, where you got given something like now. You go through TikTok and you see half the movie before you've watched it, or you see half the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But back then,
well, it's DVD special features, isn't it?
Special features, yeah.
It might have been on YouTube, but I think it was. But it was honestly the making of. I watched and went, we could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because we've been shooting ourselves in the foot, so especially at that time. I think like the first art. So we've been doing this about 18 years or something. So we're doing commercials and things like that before doing our own. And the first half of that, we didn't have the money to do it. And the second half has been we're too busy with commercials. But both of an excuse. So when we didn't have any money, but we did have camera gear, we did have something we could edit on, even though it wasn't good. So it was just the one that was like, oh fucking hell, we can do that. He obviously picked a lovely location. Do you know what I mean? Where the location gave him so much production value. And it does make it like even with older gods, is like, you know, a lot of the comments you get is about that, like
Snowden,
the drone shot and stuff like that, which is just like how wide and nothing near it and things like that. And that talking about how that's raised the production back. So a location does make a big difference. So sometimes I would argue then, rather than paying all this money for a fucking Arri Alexa or even worse, filming on film, put money into the lens, the location, and the post-production, maybe the actors as well. If he would have had two shit actors, that film would have fallen apart completely. But they're really good.
I mean, it helped like being a large portion being exterior, so you've got times of day that are perfect for shooting, especially in, I think it was Mexico, wasn't it?
Yeah,
large part of Mexico, where you got golden hour, you got blue hour, and they're actually longer than most places in the world on the equator there. So.
Yeah.
What was the budget on Monsters?
It was about 300 grand, I think.
Was it?
It's all under $1 million. It's definitely under $1 million. I think that once it gets, because everybody goes, there's marketing too, but I think he'd sold it afterwards. So they made it for a few $100 grand. I think he got a fee, which you don't know how much that would be. The actors obviously got paid, and the travel, and the editor. But that's pretty much it. But it's under. It might be about 500, but it's under $1 million.
We hope.
You hope. Yeah.
Not bad.
But at the end of the day, if you take away the paying themselves, do you know what I mean? Where if I was Gareth Edwards, I would argue, well, I'm going to write it, direct it, and edit it, and do it. So pay me 4 times, which you could argue. But he's probably just gone, pay me what you would pay me just to be the director, and I'll do the rest for free. Let's just get it so I can get my first film made, which is sometimes a compromise you've got to make to get in there. Do you know what I mean? But he made an absolute beautiful film that straight after that, I think it got into like South by Southwest, big doors opened, and he got the Godzilla job, and he's one of the best directors around.
Such a good film as well, Godzilla.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so he's clearly the guy they went to. It probably helps that he was in a film called Monsters.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he's going to do Godzilla, and then Jurassic Park, and there's some monsters. But he's really good. So even with his big budget show, it wasn't just like a fluke. But I would still say the Monsters.
It must be so hard for him now, though, going into doing everything himself in Monsters, to go into Godzilla and obviously Star Wars and having other people doing it.
I saw he said that there's why is there so many people? Because he actually operates the camera as well, which a lot of people don't do. But he's always kind of like, right, we'll get a shot down there, and they'll be like, well, that's going to take all morning because there's 500 people and you've got to do the set, blah blah blah. And then so there's times where he'll just go, oh, let's not bother then, and just film it. So I think
what was his latest? What was his one before Jurassic Park?
Creator
as well.
So like, there's lots of behind the scenes of that where him and his DOP and Top Boy just went off and filmed some bits by themselves, and like
what was the camera they had? The smaller. That's another one you could actually buy.
Oh, it was the Sony FX3 or Sony.
Yeah,
That's it, yeah.
FX3.
The
Getting good lenses on
tiny
it.
one,
The Alpha, something like that, but great lenses, a small workable package, and I think he had like a relationship with Aperture, so most of it, everything was lit with either Novas or MCs and stuff like that. Obviously, on the larger scale stuff like big Jenny stuff, but when he went off and did odd scenes here and there with like a gaffer slash at the back and a key light, and that was
and
what
he would. Like I think if you watch The Creator, there's lots of monsters in that. So that shot's where they'd just gone off into like a village and shot stuff. I think they just filmed a random old lady like cooking, and then he put over the visual effects of it being a robot or that thing in her head, which makes it look like a robot. He's also big on. I think he was talking to Industrial Light and Magic, who are like the CGI visual effects people. They want to do whole environments, and he was just like, no, I'm just going to film that mountain, and then we're going to add it in. So it's like compositing rather than creating from scratch. And doing that, he was able to do it should be $100 million film, that, but I think it was about 40 or something like that.
Yeah, so
it's still out of the realms of low budget, but being a low budget filmmaker probably made that studio love him.
Because they literally gave them the plates of, this is what I want.
Yeah.
Here's the footage that you're going to have. That's it. There's no reels and reels of footage to kind of play with. This is it, and here's my concept imagery. What can you kind of do? And they just went from there.
Yeah. So, but that proves that low budget. Starting from there, took him on well elsewhere, but it was with creativity and hard work rather than cash.
We just have to quickly explain how this podcast is sponsored by Filmwear. Stylish but practical clothing for film crews, video producers, and lovers of movies. All profits also go towards Wagyu Films' next film, so you are both supporting the team as well as looking like an absolute legend. Go to filmwear.store today to pick up your crew t-shirt, sweater, hoodie, or training top. Now back to the show.
What was yours then, Keith?
The film that I've gone with is even lower budget than that one.
Yeah.
It's 2020 Host by Rob Savage.
Host, the Zoom call film. Yeah.
It's
COVID when it was during COVID.
During COVID, and it was filmed solely on iPhones. So, but a lot of people think it was filmed on like the cameras on the Zoom itself, but it wasn't. I think they velcroed iPhones to the laptops. Okay. So they had Zoom on. And the director was there hidden, and he had the iPhone there playing and getting all their reactions and stuff. Absolutely amazing.
Was
film.
that it was like a girls' night? Is that
it was like a seance? I think they were doing like a seance over Zoom.
Yeah, it was like a medium kind of thing. So
I remember that now. Yeah, I think because it was during COVID, and like the production crew would drop off the gear, isolate the gear, leave instructions. Gave them instructions on how to use it.
Yeah, so they had a box. Each person, each actor had a box with like a phone in it, a mic, and then some props and stuff as well. And
that were like related to the story.
They were kind of related to the story, and the good thing as well about it was they obviously had the script, but because it was a lot of them did ad lib as well, so a lot of the reactions and are all genuine actions and stuff. So it's absolutely fantastic. I definitely recommend going and watching it. And especially, I think it was like $100,000 all in.
Yeah, that's just paying the actors, really.
And obviously,
afterwards.
I mean, if you watch the behind the scenes of it,
they might have contributed to everybody's rent.
Because I think a lot of them were all filmed in each person's house.
Yeah.
So each person was kind of like, this is in their bedroom and stuff. And then I think they'd have like one-to-ones with the director, and he'd say like, this is what I want, this is what, blah, 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 blah. But if you look at some of the action scenes, like when spooky things are happening, there's some amazing things, like there's a wine glass which just explodes.
Yeah.
And I think one of the actresses in it, I think her name's Emma something, but she literally shot it with a BB gun. So the had the sugar glass. So she had a sugar glass, and she had to like place it exactly where it was. They filmed her shooting the glass. And then she got back in there with obviously the glass has moved, and it explodes in the shot. So it's amazing. Like, such a low
Well, like
budget
just
film.
off like doing it
Like
herself?
no, like there's
She's on screen, is she not
she's
on
off the screen.
Right.
So they kind of like cut out the glass. So the glass is kind of like, so you've got your screen. It's literally on the left hand side of the screen. She's kind of in the middle, and she's like just talking on the screen. The glass explodes. The glass kind of explodes, and then they literally shoot. She's like, she's got like Primark sunglasses on, like as like her health and safety. She's kind of stood there with like this BB gun and shoots the glass, and then they kind of impose it back onto her shot. So I think she was having an interview with the director, and the director says, right, so this is going to happen, and then I'm going to say now, and then you're going to react to it. Then they imposed it, the shot of the glass exploding, and it's fantastic.
I think it's I don't think it's even 90 minutes too. I think it's like 80 minutes. Well, 70. So you don't have.
No,
again,
it's a Zoom call.
It's a Zoom call, so it's 1 hour.
It was 45 minutes.
Well, they get an hour, but I think it's 1 hour 3 with credits.
Right.
So it's 1 hour because Zoom cut you off after an hour. It was filmed within.
It was all really topical. So it was like it was during COVID. So they were doing a COVID party, you know, like how we all got together on Zoom to do beer quizzes and stuff, pub quizzes and stuff like that. So it was like it came out during COVID, during the lockdown.
I've seen the trailer.
So it was based during the lockdown. It was marketed during the lockdown. So and it popped up on, was it Shudder or something like that?
It's went to Shudder.
Yeah, it was like written film done all within COVID.
All within COVID guidelines and stuff like
but
that.
It was done in just one call.
It
was kind of cut up.
Act like a call.
Right.
The film is one call.
Jesus, I was thinking. So
it's still supposed
so
to. Now you get your warning at
the length of a Zoom call.
Yeah, it feels like it's all done in one shot.
That is very tough.
It's so good.
It was a good idea. Like, you know, when you think, they're just little.
But again, creativity.
It's making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, but it's
the situation that you're in.
It proves
you can still make a film when you're locked inside your house.
But it gives you the excuse when there's not the situation.
Yeah.
When somebody else is just like, well, what else can we do? These guys didn't have any cameras, or they did use iPhone, but it's like they didn't even make it 90 minutes. So everybody says, well, you've got to make it 90 minutes. For, like Older Gods wasn't 90 minutes; it's about 84.
But there's some great action scenes in it where, you know, when you see like girls getting pulled through like door frames and chair, like someone sat on a chair and she gets dragged back.
I remember somebody dropping from a roof.
Someone's dropping from a roof, and you're like, oh, that's like all.
They've got, you know, like how you put your background on, you change your background.
Yeah.
So it looks like she's been dragged. She gets dragged, but you can't see where she's dragged. So it's like being dragged into the darkness because the background just stays there.
Yeah,
she gets pulled through into the graphic background.
So when you add in, like, some people have like,
it's like that's brilliant.
But like the behind the scenes, how they did it. She's literally sat on the chair, and how they did it. Her boyfriend, the actress's boyfriend, was in the other room, dressed in black, and he literally put a rope around the chair and just pulled the chair, and it was like. It's so easy to do. So easy to do. It was good. And I think a lot of that was kind of inspired a lot of stuff with Older Gods as well, because it was during lockdown as well. I think a lot of theirs was filmed in the day as well, so they done what we dit as well with blacking out the windows. But I think they used like bin bags. We used tin foil. Yeah. But she was like she had the same problem that we had, where we were all melting and bit like sweaty messes. But she had the same. So it was it's good to see, like, you know. You could create a film, you can make a room black, you can do certain things with the lowest of budgets, just a little bit of creativity and just a little bit of know-how, really.
Sure, there's no fucking excuses, really.
That's what I mean. We were so full of excuses coming up. I was just like, I think that's the point what we're trying to get across today is there's no bloody excuse, just do it. You don't have to have the gear. Come up with a creative idea like a Zoom call. That's why back in the day when all those bloody found footage films came out, it was like Blair Witch did it brilliantly, and then
Paranormal Activity was one of mine.
Paranormal Activity,
I love that film.
But
and then most recently, Hell House, which is that's an uber low budget one, and it's now turned itself into like a little franchise because it got a little cult following. But that was just like there'd been 10 years since the last found footage, then out they pop with this one.
No, it's always if you do something good. So people keep saying, "Oh, found footage is dead." Just do it differently. Found footage, there's no rule that you can't do it anymore, and just use your phone. Bloody hell! What's yours, Scott? What's Scott got? Scott's going to do.
So my one.
Scott's going to do something.
That none of us have seen. I'm guessing.
It's a film called The Wanting Mayor.
The Wanting Mayor.
Right. So I love the fact. So it's so hard to find a film that you can say, "Oh, I've just found this film. It's a great film," and then Dave goes, "Oh no, yeah, I
No,
saw
yeah,
that.
yeah, I watched that the
Really
other
good."
night. Yeah.
And to find a film that you haven't watched, fucking fills me with.
What's it called?
The Wanting Mayor.
The Wanting Mayor.
So it came out in 2020, and it took 5 years to make, basically.
Call bullshit. I reckon he googled this. He hasn't watched it. He's just found something that none of us have watched. He hasn't. Just watched the trailer just before we got in here.
And
Just watch the making of.
You should watch the making of, by the way.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant. So, it's written, directed, produced, and all the visual effects are done by the same guy called Nicholas Bateman, who had no prior training in film or anything. I think he was like a fine arts student or something.
Yeah.
He's done like a bit of like visual effects in the past before that, but again, no training. After this film, he's got his own visual effects studio, and he's done the effects for like The Green Knight, some other bigger films as well. And so his career has kind of really progressed just from this passion project that he had.
That's what we keep pushing in here. Stop waiting for other people to do it. Everybody that actually bothers to do it is the only thing that catapults them. Sort of.
And the thing is, like, so he started off with initially just with his own money. It was 20 grand that he kind of put in, I think, 20 around roughly that kind of amount. That helped him to produce like a pitch deck of what he was going to do.
So is this live action, animation?
So it's a mix. So some of it is all just kind of shot on location, and then loads of it is all just comped. So it's like that kind of great. So yeah, it reminds me of like going back when Casern came out and Sin City and 300, where it was all just everything was just kind of put together like that. And it's such an epic scope of film for such a small budget from a person who's just kind of done this practically himself with a small kind of crew around him, but again with no big name directors.
What's it like about?
So it's based in a world called
we're in. We know what we're in.
No, honestly,
we're in it. Yeah.
This isn't a film that you just sit down and watch with like your missus or anything like that. Yeah, this is like a.
You need to want to watch
it.
Yeah,
get prepared and like just kind of sit
like
down on your own. No, it's like think Terrence Malick and like David Lynch.
Bit arty, bit thoughtful.
So
kind of lots of silence,
slow motion.
Right, yeah. So it's based in this kind of like fantasy kind of world in a city called Withering, which is on like a coast, and it's like a dystopian, post-apocalyptic, Blade Runner-y type of world and stuff. And horses are used as like a high value commodity.
Right.
So they're hunted down, caught, captured, and then sent off to a place across the sea, which is a nicer place. So it's like a place where people want to kind of jump ship and move, and people try and transport themselves over. And so the story follows a woman called Moira who has these visions of like visions that are passed down through generations from her family. It time jumps so much, and it's a film to kind of experience.
Got it.
Is what I can kind of say. That's just kind of take it from there.
You try not to spoil it.
And because I couldn't really explain it because it's like, again, it goes around so much, but it's all about trauma that kind of passes through families. Essentially, and the wanting to kind of go to, the grass is always greener somewhere else, that kind of thing. So done over a period of 5 years. One guy who's kind of came up with the idea, wrote and directed. He's also like one of the actors in it as well. And you should see, like the behind the scenes. They've got like a 20-minute behind the scenes. It's all just taken from camera footage. Yeah. And what they do is like they'll just kind of have it rolling just before everything kind of shoots, and when it gets to that starting of that shot, they just kind of crossfade into what the shot is, and it's so gorgeous. Like the fact that it's so annoying that, but inspiring at the same time, that someone who had no kind of like real kind of background has just had the balls to kind of go in, invest 5 years of his own personal kind of time to produce something that looks epic.
So is it all green? Is all green screen?
A lot of it's green screen. Some of it's not.
Okay.
But they filmed in like a warehouse over in somewhere in America. And they've built sets around that, and then they've got like just pops of green and blue screen and stuff, and it's the effort just to kind of get one shot. But that's it. Like if you've got the time and money to kind of do it, then it's great. So after his initial kind of investment, he took that pitch deck, put that onto Indiegogo, got another round of funding, and from there, I think it was when Shane Carruth from Primer, he had seen it.
He's a low budget
and then
legend.
He then kind of
which is another low budget bloody film.
Well, I think that was their like original big hit.
That was like
sci-fi hit, which again is just a film you have to sit down and just kind of
that's an experience.
Trying to take it in. So he got involved and then found another round of investment from there. Yeah. So after that, once the film kind of came out, it got put into the Chattanooga Film Festival, and this was during COVID, so it was all online. Yeah. From there, whether it was Chattanooga or one of the other film festivals, got taken up by Gravitas Ventures. Yeah. And then got kind of bought from there. So go ahead. Don't watch it with your partner or anything.
What was it called again?
The Wanting Mare.
The Wanting
I'll show you
Mare.
the trailer after.
Yeah,
like
no, I'm going to watch straight.
And it's absolutely brilliant. Again, just done on software that's off the shelf. Camera that's really accessible. I think it's like the Sony A7S. Kind of done that, and they had anamorphic lenses. I don't know which lens they kind of use, but it's all shot on anamorphic as well.
That sounds really. This isn't I got a different pick, but have you seen this Spine of Night?
Yeah, the animation.
Yeah, that's very similar to that.
Yeah.
Where it's basically a couple of guys. Again, kind of passionate, about 5 years. Mm-hmm. But they rotoscope. Do you know rotoscope? Do you know like the Lord of the Rings cartoon? Do you know it was all like people that have clearly been drawn over?
Yeah.
What's that one with it? What's the booby one? The
Heavy Metal.
Heavy Metal. Do you know that kind of? So they've done it in their exact style, and the film is fucking brilliant. It's like a fantasy horror. But it took them 5 to sketch it. They would film just their mates, you know, like with stupid cut, but then turn them into a skeleton and stuff like that. But rotoscoping is frame by frame. Wow. And they did it properly. But the story's really good. But that's one. I think they did the same where they'd got to a point where they'd animated it, and at that point they then. I think it was more because they got a pretty good cast. I think it's like Pat and Oswald, He was Xena Warrior Princess.
Yeah, she's in it.
Richard E. Grant was, but they they had something to show, and then as soon as I think people have said if you get a cast in it, we'll be interested in it. But it's kind of again just doing it. The problem with doing it yourself, it can take a lot longer. Mm-hmm. So you've got to survive. Like to be fair, I think like the Spine of Night. I think one of the guys was an animator who worked on Love, Death and Robots, where the other guy was the writer of it and the animator, but they would then get together and do bits when they could over many years. If you've chosen a niche and you just know it's good, but it's going to take ages, stick with it, but you have to prepare for that. At the end of the day, you don't want to waste, especially if you spend money and time on it and you just give up on something like that. Is very easy to give up on, which they probably did halfway through in 5 years. You Possibly, might be like, oh, I'm not doing this. A couple of months later, you get a bit of inspiration, but I think we're just proving we can do it, you know?
Yeah. But I think it kind of shows that, you know, a lot of people will say for like your first film, if you don't have that much budget, stick to something kind of simple. This guy didn't stick to something simple.
Which is, I respect.
So he had the idea that he wanted to kind of do, and it's a big passion project. And so if you do have the passion for it, then you just keep putting it in.
Yeah. So kind of the last one that I'm going to talk about is pretty much the low budget legend, which kind of, this might be an obvious one for a lot of people, but it's the one that everybody knows as the low budget film that of do it yourself and get there. But there might be a lot of people that still haven't heard of it, especially younger guys. So it's Errol Mariachi. It's Robert Rodriguez, director of Sin City, you were talking about before, Desperado,
Spy Kids. Shark Boy versus Lava Girl.
Alita.
Battle Angel Alita.
Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Desperado, which is part of the trilogy with El Mariachi. Desperado.
It's the universe, isn't it?
Yeah, so I came across and just happened to have So I came across this film.
No way did you do that.
Do you like that?
Fucking
Do you like
planted
that? I read his book Rebel Without a Crew, which is just the story of how he made a 23-year-old filmmaker with $7,000 became a Hollywood player, which me and Scott were saying before that this should be taught in schools, so like film schools, it should be handed out. So it's kind of, and it's again the film might not be for everybody, should we say, but research and look into how it's made, and then maybe watch the film.
It kind of shows our age a little bit. The fact that that's one, it shows our age
So-
a little, because
so,
maybe the youngsters won't get this at all. But like growing up, that this was just on the shelves everywhere. If you went to Blockbuster, Errol Mariachi was never off the shelf.
Yeah. So it was basically, it's a simple story in Mexico. It's in Spanish. Because Robert Rodriguez expected it to just get like a Mexican distributor, because he didn't expect to get picked up for a $7,000 film. But the fact is, when you watched it, it's very creative. It's what you can see. There's a really good filmmaker there. But the stories behind it, he spent $7,000. He raised that by going to a medical medical trials. They were trying some new drug. And he got a few grand from work, and I think he got a few grand from that.
Compensation from what he went through after.
So again, it's very similar to Monsters in a way. He found a little village in Mexico or town, sorry, but I don't know. But it's but they just walked into the police station, and the police guys were just two bored guys going, "Yeah, you could use the jail. There's like a bar." So everybody set these really nice Mexican people who were just like, "Yeah, help yourself." Apparently, in the bar, it was run by a man and a woman, and they were like the local newscasters, like on the radio or TV, like the terrible local. So he just gave him a job. He just let them have like background things, and then all of a sudden they weren't slagging off the film anymore. But it's the cockiness, the balls, and the genius that goes into it. It's things like, do you know when you have to have legally you have to tell people that you're filming and things like that. He'd put a sign at each end of the street saying film it, but he put it in English so nobody would understand it. So he can legally say, I did put a sign out, and everybody who walks on camera is now allowed to be in the film. But where he was really clever was for that $7,000, he says, for that $7,000 he had, if it wasn't for the fact he was shooting on film, because this was before digital, he would have only spent $600. So this is the point I'm getting to with the young people, is like he made this, the only reason it cost even $7,000 was because of film. Now, if you're shooting on digital or your phone or whatever, he's not going to have that cut. But because he was so frugal with that, he only had X amount of film. He wasn't like, he couldn't afford to get any more film. The film he had is what he had. So if you watch Errol Mariachi, it's actually clever what he does. So everything is in pretty long shots. So he's not cut. He is in action. So what he would do is, like, if there's a scene of walking into a pub, talking to somebody, walking back, he would film it in one shot. And if the actor or somebody or him fucked up, he would go back to where he fucked up and just change shot. So he wouldn't start again from the beginning of the scene, which is kind of maybe something that some people should do anyway. But it's different with digital. But digital adds up. So do you know what I mean? So if halfway through a walk somebody trips, he'd get to the bit where he tripped and he would walk, so he doesn't waste film from where he started. So every time we change, and there's a couple of little bits of genius, which is kind of, again, that police station he walked into, they let him have a gun. They just gave him a gun because
was it a machine gun?
He couldn't afford, it was like an Uzi.
Because it was that was an Uzi, but what did he do with that Uzi?
He did have blanks. So if you put a blank in that type of machine gun, it just fires once. Yeah. So he couldn't put loads of blanks in it and start spraying. It'd be one fire, reload, clunk, clunk, fire. So what he would do is film a guy doing that, but just like that's one shot, that's new shot, and then get shots of the people being shot. Yeah. So, and then have the sound effect of one long gun spray. So you see it cutting really quick from bullet dead, bullet dead, but he's just going clunk, clunk.
Clunk.
Do you know what I mean? So He would record. They didn't have. It was just him and a couple of actors, so they didn't have any. Didn't have a sound man, so he recorded audio after. So he would do a take, and he'd usually do one take because of the amount of film. Then they would try and remember the timing of. I think they would walk it through so they knew the timing of when to say stuff. So the timing would always be the same. So after they filmed it and done it a bunch of times, they would then record the audio. So the audio, and then he's got to sync up the kind of a dub audio. So it wouldn't be perfect, but he said one of the perfect things of doing it in Spanish is once you showed American or English speaking audience, nobody notices the dub too much because you can't tell the words that are being spoken and when. And then maybe there's a little bit of, if you ever watch films that are not in your language, sometimes you can't tell if the acting's
any good.
Not too good. Do you see what I mean? Because you might be like, well, that sounded really cool. Do you know what I mean? Where I think it must be tricky for like foreign. I always thought it might be tricky for like foreign. So we say non-English speaking or English as a second role when you direct a Hollywood film, because surely do you know all the accents the same? Do you know what I mean? Can you tell when they're tripping over the words or they pronounce something wrong? But he said that worked in his favour. Because when they went to America, all the acting seemed great and the sound was good and things like that. Where actually in Mexico, they might be just like, well, this ain't too great.
He's a little weird.
Yeah. But again, he was arguing that they were used to like the Mexican soap operas, which he knew he was better than them. But if you imagine what the guy went through, and this is kind of my lesson from it, is if he worked with other people, everybody else would have said, well, you can't do that. You can't have a gun that fires one blank. You're not going to get convinced.
You'll be allowed to go into a police
jail is
station
going to cost you X
I think
amount
I would be, you'd be hard to convince me there. If you said they only shoots once, I'd go, that's
it's got to be one take. We're not going to film the scene from scratch. Imagine an editor, because he's editing it himself. An editor would have been like, you got to fucking film it. Give me the whole scene. But he's like, why? Because I got that first bit. It was fine. And then move. And the balls on him with film, it's not as if he could watch it back on a little monitor.
Exactly.
There's the dailies,
And he said he was editing in his head a lot of the times when he did an action sequence.
He'd shoot for the edit, wouldn't he?
He'd shoot for the edit. So it'd be like he would cut at a point where he could cut it back. So he wasn't rolling for a minute. Like, everybody ready? It was just, go! It was just like, it? So... It's a less. So I'd really recommend reading the book Rebel Without a Crew, but it's a lesson in not waiting for anybody, which is everything we hammer home to everybody. Is not waiting for anybody. Do it yourself. What have you got? And he chose what he were. Again, location. Maybe his location raised his book because it was like a proper like Western style little Mexican town, but
use your limitations.
Yeah. The only bit I would say is a bit different because this was obviously mid-90s when he did this. It was more when it came out. When it came out is a 1 in a million shot. So again, it's a goal to aim for. But I think he got in Sundance, got picked up, had 1 million meetings with every producer because he was him and Tarantino were the two hot film festival directors that year. So they were competing. Everybody was competing to get them for their next film. Film festivals and independent film doesn't work like that anymore. So that's the only bit it's still a really cool tale because he feels like an outcast and doesn't know how he's got there and things like that from his little $7,000 film. But it does show up he goes on to other stuff. But that would be my recommendation for give it a watch, look into how it's made. And what I want everybody to get from this is just, oh, bloody hell, I can do that. I've got that.
No excuses.
I've got an iPhone. I've got Zoom. And I've got
bin bags for the windows.
I got no money, but I'm willing to spend. I'll work. I love this project. I'll work on it for years by myself. It just means I get it. Monsters is just 3 of us. Let's get there. Should we learn visual effects ourselves and get it done? At the end of the day, you can do it. You don't wait for anybody to give you permission. Just that we're trying to give you a little bit of inspiration. Yeah.
I'd like to give a shout out to someone who also he was a young Welsh boy that we came across. Like I came across him when I was in uni, and he was making an independent film there, and he went on to start making movies that were distributed and stuff like that. And he was kind of like the inspiration of like, do you know what, we can do it, because he's doing it, he's actually doing it. They weren't huge budget films. He's called Andrew Jones, bless him. He's no longer with us.
He passed away recently.
He got ill and passed away, but
he's young as well, wasn't
yeah, bless him. And he was a good director, and he definitely did. He worked with what he could get. He worked with small crews. He worked with a stable of actors that he knew would deliver. And if you look into some of his work, he's got like a franchise about a horror franchise about dolls and stuff like that. And
so,
he would use like locations in Wales. He's from Wales, and he used a mansion for a haunting film. And he was one of the lads that when I talked to at university, I trying to work with him on indie at the time. It was like the Feral Generation or something like that. And I think you contacted him when we were talking just as a local Welsh boy talking to another local
talking to each other.
But he was just one of those guys that he didn't kind of limit himself at all or think about. He got some contacts and he made films, and he constantly did it.
I think it's I look at him was kind of, people talk about film and think, I'll make millions doing it, but what he made a load of film, really low budget. The quality maybe not right, but the fact is that he was able to make a living doing what he loved, and that's what I'm trying to get across more than anything. It's kind of like, you might not be making it. Can you make enough from a film to pay your kind of like your wage for the year, and then make another film next year? You know, and that's what he did. So fair play to him. He hammered them out. Did a bunch, didn't he? But yeah. So he was low budget, got things done. All you need to do is get him made. And if he, bless him, didn't pass away, you've no idea where he would have gone on to, because
still be knocking them out is what he'd be doing.
Yeah. That's what I mean. If he's happy doing that, God bless him. So, but yeah, so check out his films if you see it.
I reckon homework for next week is watch the one that Scott.
Yeah, I think
what's it called?
The Wanting Mayor.
Wanting
Mayor. If you haven't seen the three we're talking about, just because we've seen, just watch Host, watch Monsters, watch Errol Mariachi, and more importantly, I'd say more importantly, but definitely watch the making of each of them. Yeah, because I think that will inspire you to go, bloody hell, I can do that.
And if you've got any low budget recommendations, stick them in the comments. So thanks. I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Again, let us know what you think. Now, any recommendations, put them in the comments below. Any questions, send us your short films. We'll have a look.
Yeah.
Any filmmaking questions, let us know. Do subscribe, because obviously we'll the more we know what you like and you subscribe to it, it proves that we'll keep this train rolling. Shit show going. And again, we get to if eventually we get to 5,000 subscribers, we've got a way to go, but if we eventually get there, we will put Older Gods on for free so everybody can enjoy for free. We need you. So thanks very much, guys, and
free show.
Oh no, that made it look weird.
You got to prepare for the free. You can't just. You can't.
Oh, Scott.
Do you reckon it's because he missed it last week? So.
Yeah,
he misses one.
He forgot.
After one, he just missed. No good reason either. The mic discipline on this guy. That's it, Mike.